Hey everybody, I'm CC Trubiak and welcome to CC's Vinyl Closet. Last chapter, we ended on just how Tammy Wynette became the first lady of country music in the late 60s, and this time we're going to focus on the 1970s, all her music recorded between 1970 and 1979, and there's a lot to do, so let's dive right in to the next chapter. In this decade, Tammy Wynette released a total of 23 studio albums, some of them solo, some of them with her duet partner George Jones and third husband. I want to take a quick look at how well some of these albums did on the Billboard charts, just because there's a lot to cover. I'm going to pop up a screen with a bunch of albums, and I'm going to just let you guys know how well some of these did on the Billboard charts. In 1970, Tammy's Touch went to number 1. The First Lady went to number 2 on the Billboard country charts. In 72, she had quite the year with Bedtime Story going to number 7. Me and the First Lady, number 6, and My Man, which is one of my favorite albums of her, in 1972, went to number 2 on the Billboard country charts. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good string of successes on the country charts. I have listened to all 23 of these albums. I have selected my favorite track from each one, and I've put it on the Gospel of the Honky Tonk Angels playlist because I wanted to find that space to put these really awesome songs, because how can you really pick one album? Stylistically, she stayed pretty consistent throughout the 70s in terms of her sound from the late 60s. She had that polished countrypolitan sound with Billy Sherrill, and they never really strayed too far from it, even on her duet albums with George Jones. They had that incredible sound, and you can hear it on these albums. Oh yeah, one thing I really wanted to make sure I touched upon again, because I felt like when I went through the Loretta Lynn chapter and I brought up the Jordanaires, I wasn't prepared to see them yet again on so many of Tammy Wynette's albums. I actually took it upon myself to go on eBay and search out something that really featured the Jordanaires, and lo and behold, I found this album from 1964. I have not listened to it yet, but this just goes to show you that the Jordanaires were doing their own thing, and I can't wait to hear this. If there's any other Jordanaires fans out there, let it be known that I can see how present they were on all of Tammy Wynette's records, the one she also did with George Jones, and man, I love their sound. Oh, and I also finally made some paper dolls for them because I kind of have some pictures to put to their faces, so I love these characters. This next part is a part I'm pretty excited about, because we finally get to look at the part of Tammy's music career that involved her third husband, Mr. George Jones, the greatest country singer of all time, in my opinion. I got a couple of George Jones albums in my collection. They're really fantastic. I love George Jones's sound. I heard him through Tammy Wynette's music, because again, it was Tammy's CD that I had when I was a kid, and I really took to that sound. I had no idea that they were really married at the time. So many people already know that George Jones and Tammy Wynette were married. In fact, they were both married twice before marrying each other. George Jones was born in 1931 and passed in 2013. He was an American musician, singer, and songwriter, and is considered to be the greatest country singer, period. I can't argue with that. His voice is probably my favorite male voice, male country singer, and I know I've heard a lot of male country singers say the same thing, that he's inspired them, and I can see why. He has a sound that it's not a lot unlike Tammy, this incredible rawness to their voices. I love George Jones's voice, so when I listen to these albums that he and Tammy did together, I really appreciate their ability to harmonize together. Tammy divorced her second husband in 1968 and married George Jones in 1969 at the height of her success. They were married for 6 years and recorded a total of 9 albums together. Some were even recorded after their divorce. So I'm going to pop up a screen with all of their albums. I can't pick a favorite album that I have among them, but I swear to goodness on each one of them there are gems. Check those gems out on my playlist. But I am going to pick a song that I just can't get out of my head.
The world needs to let it go. The world needs a guitar, let it get strong.
The world needs a melody that it can sing, 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 sing. Let's all sing together. The main point is, I love the song, The World Needs a Melody. It comes off of this album, Let's Build a World Together. I gotta say, it's the most infectious song I've ever heard. It's probably a good definition of countrypolitan because it's got this big orchestra in it. And their harmonies, heaven! I've been dancing around my living room. I twirl a lot. I love to twirl. Great album. Personally, I think that the chemistry between George Jones, and I know that they have a really famous, complicated marriage, and she details a lot of that in her autobiography, and I don't even want to talk about any of that, but I think it makes their music even all the more fascinating to listen to, because regardless of whatever was going on inside, you know, we all have our personal demons, but when they sang solo, when they sang together, they had that thing. That's what my dad would say. You've got that thing. They've got that thing. Who out there loves some George Jones? I want to hear your thoughts down below. What is one of George Jones? You've seen the couple albums I have by him. What are some other records I could get by George Jones? Do tell me. And also, too, I found it so hard to pick a favorite song by them. I mean, they've got those wonderful hits, but what are some favorite songs that George Jones and Tammy Wynette did together that you love? I would love to hear what other people's favorite songs are. One of my favorite albums by her is My Man. And I think it's because it has my favorite all-time song by her, which is called Till I Get It Right. This is not on my playlist. I'm going to put a link down below so that you can hear the song Till I Get It Right. It's a song that I've covered for years. It's such a beautifully written song. I need to make sure I give props to the songwriters. It was written by Red Lane and Larry Henley. I believe if I had to pick one song that was my favorite by Tammy Wynette ever, it would be this one. I might even put my own cover of it out again because I used to play it a lot and I haven't for years, and it's one that I do like to play, so we'll see about that. We'll see. Have I covered everything that I wanted to in this chapter? Yes, I believe so. So that pretty much wraps it up, guys. That's the end of chapter 5. Thank you for tuning in, and stay tuned for next week's episode where we catch the tail end of Tammy Wynette's career. Be sure to hit the like button if you've enjoyed this. Leave some comments for me. And hit the subscribe button as well. And until then, keep fit and have fun.